very delayed.
I made a very satisfying clap, so I don't mind.
You've had a very satisfying clap.
I've got the drugs now, so it's fine. Wow, this is a interesting couple of shows.
I liked one of them more than I liked the other, but I did like both. This is a lot better than the last two shows that we did, where I was like, both of these are shitus.
Yeah, I don't think it helped leaving time between them as well.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any more Behind Her Eyes yet. I can't remember if that was even the show I was going to watch more of to see if it was good.
I mean, if you can't even remember that, there's other stuff that we need to get watched, I think.
Yeah. Oh, because after our last recording, we did do the challenge of going through all of. Oh no, that was an episode 200 thing. But we now know how much of the podcast shows that we've watched each. How many?
Yes.
How much?
How many
was
shows
wrong?
we've? Yeah. So it's how many shows we've gone on and finished as a result of, not necessarily as a result of talking about them on the show, but of the shows we have talked about. How many of them have we seen the entirety of? I saw something like 37. You saw something like, what was it?
A quarter.
Yeah, 96 or something or other. It was something crazy like that.
Yeah, it
wasn't
was good night. What the thing? I was like, oh yeah, no, that's a good number. And then I'm like, oh, is it? that's a lot of time. A lot of limited series.
Oh, well, I mean, and not many more limited than one of the shows we're going to discuss today, because one of them is literally 4 episodes long.
Yeah, it always makes me think it's a BBC show when it's like 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah, definitely. So
it's
then,
not,
let me ask you this: is it not? It really feels like a BBC show. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
It's because it's Russell Tovey, isn't it?
Oh. He's one of those guys that's just absolute marker of quality, isn't he? He's like, if he's in it, it's like, yeah, we'll be fine.
Well, yeah, it'll
be decent.
Purely, I watched Being Human, which he was in, the UK version. I then did watch the American version, but he's not in that, so it doesn't matter. And that's the only reason I watched him and her, to start with. And I might not have gotten into it until we did it on the podcast, had it not been for Russell Tovey. And his
definitely.
ears. Man's got big ears.
Brilliant. How many episodes do you think you need to class yourself as a series? Because if we've had Whitechapel, which if that's a limited series that had 3 episodes, could you have a limited
Whitechapel
series
has
of
multiple
2
seasons,
episodes?
though.
That's true. So it's not a limited series, is it? Okay. So could you have? Is there such a thing as a limited series of 2 episodes? God damn, we should find it.
Oh no, like it will exist. Like it will 100% exist. But I don't know.
I tried writing episodes, and I literally spelt it spioids.
Yeah, I mean we've all
Oh
done
wow,
that.
there's loads.
Yeah, they will be, and it's weird because I don't know if that's a film that couldn't find the budget, or because I would say it has to be longer than most films.
Okay, well, a few of these conform to that. So Helen of Troy from 2003, that was 175 minutes. Is that a mini-series? The original It? It was kind of too TV. At that point, it's TV movies.
I thought it was 3 or 4 episodes, the It show.
Well, I think
series.
What they did is that they split it up into 6. I think it was 6 episodes, but you can buy it as. I remember this. It was one of the only DVDs I had that was double-sided. But yeah, you could get the full 6 hours of it. Was it 6 hours? No, it was 3 hours.
Yeah.
But they must have just split it and then added adverts in.
So that's the thing. I would say a limited series, for me, I think has to be 3 episodes. Because otherwise it's just a 2-parter.
A lot of these are like historical epics. Oh, Sky do a bunch of them. There's one called Neverland, that I remember Sky put out a little while ago. Salem's Lot. There's argument there that that's a film.
Yeah, I think it would be too hard to, because it's almost like if you make a film and you can't get it into a cinema, and you can find a reasonably good place in the middle to sort of cut it into, like that's how you get a two-parter.
Yeah, it's very strange. Here we go. 10 best limited series with 5 episodes or less. I'm going to hang on to this list because we're going to add them to the sheet.
Oh, you're just almost running up their numbers.
I tell you what, though, there's some decent looking stuff here.
Oh, there will be. Like they're not always good. They're generally pretty good, because a limited series generally means someone has a story they want to tell. They know how to tell it and how to tell it, if not efficiently, but not
how to end it as well.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Tell it with a convincing ending.
It's generally something that's got like a point. And it looks like this one was actually aired over 4 days. So it was just an episode a day.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Which one are we gonna start with that one?
I think we've talked about Russell Tovey a lot, so we probably should.
All right, let's do that.
I know it doesn't fit our normal. We'll start with the worst one, but is this the worst one?
Again, I think saying worst is probably it's the one I liked. So The Sister, which is the one we're talking about, this is the one that I liked better than the other. Honestly, I texted you, didn't I, that when I started watching this a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember what the text said. It was something like, "I'm 30 seconds into this and I'm fucking sold."
Yeah, I think it was about that far in. Yeah, that sounds like almost word for word what the text said.
It's absolutely brilliant. So Russell Tovey is in his flat. He's putting some pills onto the coffee table, isn't he?
Yeah,
and
I was starting to think that Russell Tovey being in this was a red herring, and that he just offs himself in the first 30 seconds. You go, are you? Well, I mean, bold, killing the toves, but then TV shows have done that where they've killed off, like Game of Thrones, spoilers, killed off their biggest named actor in series 1.
I mean, in minute 1 though, that's
bold.
almost like Scream.
Yeah.
So he's at home. There's a knock at the door. It's a guy with long hair and a beard and a very creepy voice who tells him they're digging up the woods. And at that point, I was like, okay, I am completely fucking sold.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's do you know what's funny is when this finished, I was a bit like, oh, that's weird. I feel like it started to set up some stuff, and I was like, I definitely want to see more, like immediately. So had I had time, I'd have been like, yeah, let's definitely carry on watching this. I probably could, thinking about the pacing of it, I really could have done this all in one go very easily.
Oh, yeah, I think it's almost the perfect middle ground between something that's good for showing over a few nights on actual television to then translate to streaming, where you just go, right, well, got a few hours on. I think.
Oh, here's something. Sorry, just something interesting about the. I was saying it's 4 episodes. I've just seen the running time goes from 47 to 76 minutes.
Yeah.
So is it just they're trying to cut it? I don't know. Anyway, sorry, carry
on. But no, I was sold at pretty much the same point. But I think it's because I'm still in the back of my head running on Alice is Missing, and this sort of it gives you that kind of almost creepy self-led adventure sort of vibes, where it's like, oh, a man comes to your door and he says, they're digging up the woods. What did you do? And at no point in episode 1 is it ever made clear what Big Nath has done. It's clear that it's not good, and it's a bit weird of who he's now married to.
Yes. which is it's so intriguing as to there's a point where the other character literally Bob says to him, "Why did you do that? Like, why have you ended up marrying her?"
Yeah, and so I think Bob's a medium type ghost hunter liar thing, who Nathan knows from. I guess Days is a radio producer. I think that's the job.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's super important what his job is, but he knows how to delete a browsing history, so sensible. But I like also the little flashbacks that are not innocuous, because they are very much setting up that something fucking weird has happened, where he's sat like looking, I guess, trying to buy a house or rent a house or whatever, and he phones up and asks for an estate agent by name, which is weird because no one should know estate agents. They are devils. And then she is not freaked out enough by that to be like, no, which feels like the sensible solution. Have we touched on the fact that ultimately at the heart of this there's like someone's missing story?
A missing person. Yeah.
Who there are some spooky happenings.
So this is where it's getting quite interesting, I think, it's interesting right from the off. But
no, there was no offing
the
at the
fact
beginning.
that it's the fact that you could almost, for this episode, definitely, you could completely eliminate the whole sort of teasing of supernatural things happening, because it's only really at the end where you start to realise that actually what Bob is saying, where he says she's haunting me, which in itself is a great line, and you don't hear haunting used as sort of as a verb of, someone is doing this to an active verb.
Yeah,
someone is doing this to someone else.
It's normally implied but not ever mentioned, or it's the
adverb,
title. The Haunting of Hill House.
Exactly.
The Haunting of Fly Manor.
We
The
could go on
Haunting.
for literal days.
I've
Haunt.
I've sort of run out and gotten bored of saying the word haunting.
But then, like in the very, very last scene where he's not sure if I think the implication is that he is being haunted by, presumably if it is the missing person, being haunted by them. But it could be the case that that's not who we think it is.
Also could be an elaborate hoax.
Yeah.
But the trouble is because it's all so possible that it's faked, but it might not be. Like, it's a good one, and it's weird because I'm looking at it and it's not listed as a supernatural thriller. It's a psychological thriller, which makes me sort of go, oh, is it more the realism getting twisted, or is it the Wikipedia's lying to me? Or does the supernatural stuff help the psychological torture of it?
Here's something that there's a lot of unanswered questions, obviously, like with the mystery side of things, but there is a question that occurs to me that I'm desperate to find out the answer to, and that is, what the fuck happened to Bob's voice? Because I mean that genuinely. Like, was he at one point haunted to the point where he screamed so much he damaged his vocal cords or something? Because in the scene where he's at the radio station, he sounds quite smooth, and he's like, "Yes, I'm Bob. I do all the psychic stuff." But then when he comes to the door, or any other time that he speaks to Nathan in the real world, he's got that real rasp and that really high-pitched, raspy voice. So I'm desperate to know. Maybe it's absolutely nothing.
Maybe he's Smeagol on the turn.
That's the thing. He's been fingering his ring too much. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, he's been down in the woods digging.
True.
The thing,
someone's going.
I sort of expected from, towards the middle of that they would that this episode would finish with him in the woods. digging and finding nothing and being like, oh shit, she's alive, or we don't remember where we put her. But yeah, no, it's all of the because there are so many questions. It is very like, oh, I do need to go watch another episode.
Yeah. And also, with it being 4 episodes long, I'm thinking, oh, this is smashing. This is going to come at quite a good time, because we're coming up to finishing Ted Lasso. We're coming up to finishing Ghosts. In between that and Cruel Summer, I think we've probably got time to squeeze in The Sister. So I think that's the plan for stuff that I want to watch, for sure.
Yeah. And I think even if you were around people who don't like sort of supernatural stuff, I don't think this has too much of it in that you could still be like, no, this is good. You should watch this, because
it's hinted at so far. And also, like, I do get the feeling it might play the card of going, well, you can read it as being supernatural, you can read it as not being supernatural. It's entirely up to you. But I think I do prefer if you're gonna have a bit of supernatural in it, I do like you to go, fuck it, throw the whole hog at them.
Yeah, I mean, I am just intrigued. It's hard to think of a better word than intrigued, because that's just where I am. I don't know, I'm not entertained by it. I've been sort of sucked in, and it's like, oh, hey. It's like any time I've started listening to a serial killer podcast and they're just like, oh, this guy did a load of bad stuff. I'm like, tell me everything.
I can't listen to true crime podcasts when I'm alone in the house.
Understandable.
I get, like, super freaked out. Like, really freaked out.
I once made the mistake of, I was on the train home from somewhere and I listened to some very sensibly unsolved true crime from all UK cases. And I was just like, yeah, this will be fine.
Oh, no.
And I was walking home at like 11 o'clock and I was like, I'm going to have to stop. Because I think I was listening to a few that had happened in London. I was just like,
Oh, no.
So yeah, it was a bit. But yeah, no, I get what you mean. And
do you know, it's funny, actually. I Elise was away last night, and I watched an episode of Twin Peaks, and it ended. This was a bit earlier today. I finished watching this episode of Twin Peaks, and it ended with one of the scariest things I've seen in a long time. I was like, "Fucking hell!" I'm really glad I didn't watch that on my own last night, because that would have shat me up.
yeah, well, we've got our Marianne experience. We are sensible boys now.
Oh yeah, oh, that's still so good.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by Bob as a character. I think he's so weird that's the thing. Like, I don't mind mediums and stuff when they're in fiction, because that's where you fucking belong.
Well, it's all made up, isn't it?
It's only when you start going, this is real, I go, you're mental. I'm going to punch you in the mouth now.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They'll always dodge because they will have always known it's coming. Not because they're psychic, because they're charlatans and they expect to be punched in the face.
Like that woman off the Aussie Traitors you told me about.
Well, it's fine. She just doesn't know the truth. She spoke to her spirits and her spirits were wrong. And the man stood at the front and said, faithful, but Australian.
Oh, no, I was going to... I was going to do it, but it was going to come out more sort of Birmingham. Faithful.
Oh, I can't wait for them to do a...
Oh, you know, I'm faithful.
Peaky Blinders.
Pennacotta.
Peaky Blinders traitors. Instead of like the secret murdering, it's just an absolute... Yeah, just meet me outside and I'm going to blow you up. Real stakes. Vampire traitors, that'd be fun.
Difficult to do the daytime part, though.
No, it's just...
Oh, everyone's going to bed?
You just flip it around.
Yeah.
Just nighttime bit. Everyone's getting their coffins. Who's going to get a knock on their coffin tonight? Oh.
Whose coffin door's going to be lifted?
Turns out the traitors are actually just daywalkers. And then there'll be, instead of a medium, they'll have one sparkly vampire. Everyone's like, I think it's him. Someone kill the Cullen. I think I'm going to watch more of this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean,
It was never in doubt, but I had to
there's only
say
another
it.
3 episodes, so
Yeah, that is. But I think actually looking at the list of stuff you have actually finished, not a lot of it is like short, limited run stuff. It's some of the not super long, but longer.
well, some of it is historic.
True.
So like the bigger stuff like Breaking Bad, obviously that was ongoing for like pretty much 2 years at uni, I suppose. Maybe not even 2 years, maybe like a year. And How I Met Your Mother, that was definitely over a series of years.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I might actually go through my list and highlight the ones that I'm pretty sure I watched before the podcast.
That's probably most of them for me.
Yeah, I think it might just offer a fairer thing when we discuss it.
Actually, a lot of them I'm just not going to remember.
Yeah, I think there's probably quite a lot that I don't remember as well.
Speaking of things I don't really remember,
The Clique, Scottish.
nice to have something Scottish. I'm not sure have we ever watched a Scottish TV show on the podcast before? We must have
Cracker.
done at some point. Oh, we did do Cracker, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, with its American counterpart that was worse because
Cracker, which wasn't as good.
yeah. Well, I mean, American knockoffs. But this one, I quite liked it. I wasn't that sure on it to begin with because it seemed very much like it might just be Mean Girls from... Well, I'm not actually sure where in Edinburgh it's set. I'm assuming Edinburgh. But it might not be. But I think...
Yes, because they go to university in Edinburgh. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But I don't think... I sort of thought it was just going to be like a sort of bitchy girl show.
Yeah.
Until the cult
It got
leader
real.
showed up. And I think I was like, oh, this might not be so... Because I sort of thought it might just be like, oh, drugged up teens doing weird shit. But now it turns out there's someone running it, making these drugged up teens do weird shit. But it seems to be quite interesting. It's a little less... well, I guess it's not really... I'm just not entirely sure what this is.
That's so. I was that while I was listening to you struggle to find the end of that sentence, I was also thinking this was exactly my point with it, like because
The thing, I'm not mad that I don't know what it is. I'm just
not
sure how to sell it.
Yeah, it's difficult to go. Oh, it's like this crossed with this, I suppose. But the thing that I struggled with it. Well, not struggled with it, but there was something that I found with it was just there was this really oppressive sense of just dread throughout the whole thing. Like the whole thing's set up like, oh look, there are these girls that are going out, and I was like, okay, well,
I sort of saw it. I was like, oh,
seem...
freshers, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, well, they seem kind of vulnerable, so that's not good. And then their professor. I was like, okay, well, she seems cool, but at the same time, I was like, something's off. And then just throughout the whole thing, I just had this real creeping sense of, oh god, this is all gonna just be so miserable and awful. And then it was. So.
Yeah, I think it's not very. It's quite subtle about like try. I think it is actively trying to build that sense of like unease.
Yeah.
Because I guess initially the unease just comes from that, like, from nowhere, there's this, like, group of, like, what I might, like, would assume would be, like, the popular girls, and they've got a driver, and they just, like, are nice, and that's quite disconcerting.
Yeah.
And then the intensity of what's her face, the lecturer. And then it's just like, oh well, I'm not really sure if this doesn't seem okay. and then you get to the house party where she finds Faye doing loads of drugs and stuff, and you're like, oh okay. So like she's clearly dabbling a bit too much in drugs, and like it's a bit more sinister when her like boyfriend comes into the room and is like, who are you, what are you doing here? And then obviously there's the like she gets separated from her, or her mate gets invited along but she doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, that happens at the house party as well. They keep inviting her friend Georgia, is it a friend?
Yeah, it's Georgia and Holly, isn't it?
Yeah, is Holly the one who... Holly's the one that it sort of follows more, but Georgia's the one who gets invited.
Yeah, and then Georgia disappears.
Yeah, and she gets one of those, like, you know, and that's the thing, that's when there's a sort of sense of like, oh, there it is, there's the reason for the dread, where it's the phone call where you're like,
yeah,
oh shit, and then she finds not her friend, but someone else with a mighty red bath.
Yeah, I always struggle like seeing that as well. It's always just something that it gives me the shivers, just like, oh, that's minging. What I have done in the time you were eloquently saying what was going on in...
Yeah, still don't know what it is, but I knew what happened.
What I did do is I had a look at the definition of Solasta, which is the name of the organisation. It means, in Scottish Gaelic...
Cult.
luminous or shining. Meaning luminous or shining in Scottish Gaelic is a textured cowl to make any yarn shine.
Oh, no.
Or it's a fictional term commonly used to refer to a hypothetical world where the sun never sets. There's a bunch of games called Solasta as well. So
yeah. And yeah, it's just good. And then there's the random guy who's just there in the suicide house. And then he's just like, shh. And she's like, fucking what? Which, understandably, it's a bit like, did you have... Because then I'm left with a question of like, did Faye do that herself? Or did the man who was leaving do it? And then... But then that made me feel bad because he's there like, oh, I'm illegal. And I'm like, but like, he probably didn't do it. But the Brexit in me really wants to blame him. And that's what the Tories have done to us.
oh God. I don't know as I'm going to watch more of this because I just found it quite depressing, and pretty dark, but not in a fun way or like an intriguing way dark. I just felt like, oh God, this is just awful.
Yeah. I think, is morose the word? Where it's...
good word. Yeah.
I'm just Googling it.
Oh, if you just synonym, sad. There are 2 series of this though, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, I think I might watch some more of it. Because I'm intrigued as to where it goes. Which happens to me quite a lot. But then, normally, I, just out of sheer willpower, finish them anyway.
This is what I did. I really did like that it was Scottish.
It looks like season 2 has a different cast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, it might follow the brother because it looks like it's boys. Maybe. Oh, no.
Entirely separate?
No, it's not because Holly's still in it.
Yeah. I wonder where they get the copy for this from. It's really strange. Yeah, I just found it pretty oppressive, and not like entertaining, just miserable. I just don't need something it makes me think it's just miserable. To be fair,
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's. I'm intrigued by it more than I'm like. It's the same. Actually, it's sort of the same with both of them. I'm quite interested in where they're going, so I just want to watch more. Which I guess is the point, because I was just reading that this Clique was part of when BBC. You know, when BBC Three went online only, and then everyone was like, "The fuck you doing?" and they came back to real telly. That's where this was. So I'm imagining that it maybe had to be a bit more like something different to not to stand out, but to keep people on iPlayer rather than going, I'll just flick over and watch the real telly.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, a couple of good shows. I'd quite happily recommend both of them, to be fair. Even if Clique's not your thing, it might be someone's thing.
Yeah, definitely like give it a look, but it not one for me. The Sister, absolutely one for me.
Yeah, because it's short.
100%. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah. So what we've discovered is even when we're not pitting them against US shows, British shows, good.
Hooray!
It's a shame there aren't more of them, but it's because we take more time and produce better content. Speaking of American shows, we have
2 more that I've not heard.
Yeah, 911 and.
Or is it 9/11?
No, it's definitely 911. 9/11's a documentary, and Third Watch, and I think.
I don't know anything about these.
If I remember rightly, I think Third Watch is recommended to me by a friend at work, and it was airing it's a New York-based fire department and police and paramedics, and it was airing both sides of 9/11, and
oh wow,
I think it's like a certain shift, like the overnight shift or something. Or it's the
third
3 p.m. to midnight shift. And it's been recommended it's meant to be quite good. So I'm intrigued to watch that. And 9/11 is probably... 911 is probably some sort of similar thing that's maybe just...
the series follows... Oh, it's wildly different. You know why it's wildly different? They're in LA. Follows the lives of Los Angeles first responders, police officers, paramedics, firefighters, and dispatchers. Executive producers... Ryan Murphy and Brad Fuller. Where have we seen them before?
Tell me.
American Horror Story, Hannibal, Glee.
Oh! So
it's those guys.
1 out of 3 ain't bad.
Angela Bassett's in it. Fucking hell.
Wow, something to maybe look forward to then. Oh, I searched now for 9/11. I just got pictures of Porsches. Not bad.
That's lucky. That could have gone the other way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Looking forward to calling the emergency services live on the next show.
I dare you.